There has only been one manager in football history to win the league title in all of Europe's top 5 leagues and hold the record for the most Champions League titles with 5. Don Carlo Ancelotti. But despite such an insane record and resume, for some reason when it comes to the conversation for the greatest managers in football, you'll barely hear his name up there, with the likes of Sir Alex Ferguson, Pep Guardiola, Jose Mourinho, or even Jurgen Klopp. In fact, some even criticize Ancelotti as a manager who doesn't really do anything. But why is that? After all, he's managed to do things that no other manager has ever done. Maybe because compared to other managers, despite his success, Carlo Ancelotti has never really been praised for his tactics or has any notably distinct style of play. There's a reason why Pep Guardiola is known as a philosopher, a man who has layers and layers of different tactics and playstyle philosophies, needing an exact fit of players and system to play the best football he wants. Then, of course, there's Jose Mourinho, known as the Special One, a manager who's incredibly hard on his players but gets them prepared for an all-out battle and knows how to get the most out of an individual's footballing ability. Even Jurgen Klopp is known as the Normal One, with a mindset for endless pressing or gegenpressing in German, knowing how to find success without needing the biggest budgets or biggest names, yet still knowing how to make every part of the pitch count. Ancelotti, on the other hand, well, it's true that he has no distinct style or specific tactics, but hear me out. Perhaps his best strategy is not sticking to one. It might be a stretch, but I dare call him the adaptable one. Because what Don Carlo does best might not be all these complicated formations or set instructions on how to play the match. Instead, his method is to not look at the pitch, but to look at the team. Looking at every single man in the squad and allowing them to play their best. It's even joked about how Ancelotti doesn't win with tactics, but through the power of love and friendship. And I think Zlatan Ibrahimovic's words truly say it best. Jose Mourinho knows how to treat a footballer, but Carlo Ancelotti knows how to treat a person.
I like to speak with the player, I like to listen to the player, I like to take care of the people above all. Before to be a player, you are a person, and you have to know this. First of all, you are a person.
Motivation can only get players by for so long, but eventually, in the long run, it's not that sustainable. No matter how much motivational fire a manager can give them to go to war and continue that long grind to success, eventually, most can't sustain it. Many will have a taste for success and eventually get relaxed. Others might think they've done everything they can for the team. So now, what can the team do for me in return? Because something that trumps even the deepest sense of respect in the world of football, a different kind of fire that burns in the hearts of players to not only play for success and glory, but also fight for the dignity and love for their boss. A boss that listens, eats, drinks, and bleeds alongside them. Transcending that typical, almost transactional relationship between a player and manager, crossing the lines and seeming like family. Some of you might hear that and think that's utter nonsense. For those who aren't familiar with Ancelotti's philosophy, it might sound strange, but his management style goes beyond the pitch. It all stems from the way he's lived his whole life. That's why it's almost hard to believe that a guy like him actually came from humble beginnings and farmland. And growing up, he would apply the same things his father taught him. In an interview with Times, Ancelotti shared his wisdom, saying, "You plant today and harvest 1 year or 2 years later. This is my philosophy with football. It's my style, my way of life. You can't be anxious for the result. If you've done the proper things, it will come." And even during his professional career, Ancelotti wasn't exactly a superstar, but what he did best was play his role and do whatever he needed to help his team. It's how he was able to win 6 Serie A titles and 2 European Cups, playing a supportive midfield role to one of the most dominant sides in football history. Because Ancelotti knows what it means to play alongside the world's very best footballers and still find a way to shine, not by scoring goals or catching the spotlight, but by allowing his teammates around him to play their best. That's why, as manager, Ancelotti was able to reach a level of success that no other before him has managed to do. But it did take him some time to really figure it out. From his days in Milan, all he knew was the classic 4-4-2 formation from back in the days of playing under Arrigo Sacchi. That's why even starting off his managerial career in Parma, he would refuse who many see as the greatest Italian player of all time, Roberto Baggio, just because he played the number 10. He was one of the best players in the world at the time, and I refused to have him just because I wanted to play with two strikers. Today, I would say, Baggio, come to Parma and we'll arrange the situation. Instead, I told him, Roberto, there is no space for you. It was a mistake, and I tried to change my idea when I went to Juventus. I had Zidane and he was a number 10. Should I put him right or left? Impossible. Zidane is the most important player in my team, and he has to be number 10, and I have to adapt. From there, I always took into the account the characteristics of the players to build the system. And it was after acknowledging his mistakes and deciding to be more fluid and flexible in his management style that Don Carlo would really begin to be a brilliant manager. From that moment, he learned that you shouldn't limit your players' best capabilities. So I have to ask you, why would you ever limit your internet's potential? You can expand your online horizons and have unrestricted access to different global content and stay safe along the way with Surfshark VPN. Surfshark VPN can virtually place your device in over 100 different countries worldwide, all while keeping your information anonymous and safe. For example, if you want to watch shows like The Walking Dead, but you're located in Great Britain or other countries where certain shows aren't available in your Netflix, you can use Surfshark to move your digital address to somewhere like the US and watch it along with other geologged US content. But in my opinion, what's even more important about Surfshark VPN is keeping you safe online, because Surfshark masks your IP address and protects you and your data against advertisers and other malicious websites, especially when you're traveling or connecting to public Wi-Fis in cafes, airports, or libraries. And with Surfshark One, you can enhance your privacy and security even further. With an antivirus that shields your devices from harm, alerts to get notified of personal data leaks, and the ability to search the web without a trace. So if you want to secure your online privacy with Surfshark, enter coupon code RaymarFootball for 4 extra months at surfshark.com/RaymarFootball or click the link in the description. Thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. When Ancelotti arrived in Milan, this is when he really started to use his newfound philosophy. Many might look at that AC Milan side as a super team, but there have also been many managers who've had overwhelmingly good squads, yet still never managed to win anything. Ancelotti, however, found a way to manage such big names and allow them to play where they could really play best. And one of his most iconic changes was deciding to play Andrea Pirlo further back, with Pirlo even saying, "It's like rediscovering your father again." He changed my career. Because as good as Pirlo's skill sets were, it was when Don Carlo let him control the game from the back that Milan would truly begin to awaken. He was also constantly changing their lineup, involving legends like Rivaldo, even if the formation was completely new, even breaking their typical 4-4-2 lineup to play Rui Costa and eventually Ricardo Kaká a little closer to the attack in what is now iconically known as the Diamond Formation midfield. Ancelotti and Milan would reach 3 Champions League finals in 5 years without ever having a set formation. If not for Liverpool's miracle at Istanbul, Don Carlo would have had 3 UCL titles in a single spell with AC Milan. And in Chelsea, Ancelotti would only expand on his managerial style even further, treating his squad as a family, and for the first time in many of these players' careers, actually allow them to be involved in tactical strategy. Instead of an authoritarian management, they felt like they were family around Ancelotti. And John Terry really says it best.
What I really loved about Carlo was his man management, the way he adapted as well, but he adapted very quickly when speaking to me, Frank, Didier. He wanted to pick our brains of, is this too much tactic for the players to do? Are we doing too much of this? You know, I want to get the right balance. And that I've never had a manager actually had asked the players and give them a bit of responsibility, and he was part of that. It made you feel the togetherness was incredible.
They viewed him more than just a manager, and wanted to win not only for their personal or club glory, but also to simply make their boss look good. As while Ancelotti had immense pressure from former Chelsea owner Roman Abramovich, saying he needed to win trophies or he was gone, his players played their absolute hearts out just to help keep their manager on the squad. And of course, with such a strong bond, that Chelsea side managed to make history, becoming the first team to ever score over 100 goals in a Premier League season, also bringing the club its first ever domestic double. Ancelotti is also known to be one of the calmest managers in football, and some might think of it as not being strict enough. But in his words, because he goes out of his way not only to treat his players with respect, but goes beyond football to talk to them, learn about their lives, their personalities, their families, and even their interests. And his open mindset to players from all sorts of different global backgrounds lets them feel like he's not just some manager who's trying to do the bare minimum, but one that actually cares about them as a person. That's why when he first arrived to Madrid, the first thing he did was fix the strained relationships of players like Iker Casillas and Sergio Ramos, who after their time with Jose Mourinho were very unhappy. And with the way that Ancelotti handles his players, a Madrid dressing room that looked like it was falling apart suddenly began to rise back up. Even Pepe had this to say: "Under Mourinho, people hated us, but things changed when Ancelotti came in." And ironically, even Ancelotti might have made Pepe a little less violent, especially when you compare to how he was under Mourinho. Real Madrid's overall performance suddenly became much better under Ancelotti, because not only does Ancelotti improve the relationship between players and manager, but also between players themselves. He lets players get closer to one another, learn each other's languages, and slowly build chemistry. When Toni Kroos first started playing in Madrid, he would only hang out with Sami Khedira and speak German. Slowly, Ancelotti would encourage Kroos and the Spanish speakers to hang out more often, and Kroos would slowly start learning the language, which would turn out to be, as you all know, an unbreakable bond that translated onto the pitch. Because what Ancelotti believes the most is that a foundation of a team isn't built by tactics, but by players themselves. Instead of shoving tactics down their throats, he finds a way to make these guys actually enjoy the game. And when they do, the results will come. You see, there is no style for me. My style is not recognized because I change. The style takes into consideration the preparation of the players. I'm not going to tell them what to do. It's an interpretation of how to play on the ball, and I don't want to remove anybody's creativity. When you look at a manager who actually considers his players as friends, it's hard to beat that kind of chemistry and loyalty, even with the most complex tactics or motivational speeches. I mean, this man has managed 10 Ballon d'Or winners. He knows how to control egos better than any other manager in the world. And with Kylian Mbappe now joining Real Madrid, Ancelotti will no doubt create an environment that he has never seen before. And when you have Mbappe playing for more than just personal glory, we might even see a more insane version of him that we've never seen before. The final thing about Ancelotti's style is that it works. Tactics and motivations can only go so long before you have to switch the personnel around. But with Ancelotti, the strategy is the personnel. It's sustainable, it's positive, and it's proven. Because if the past is any indication of the future, Ancelotti will continue to break football.